Hello and welcome to Recall the Midwife. Today we are discussing Series 9, Episode 3. I'm Alex.
I'm Becky.
I'm Jen. Reminder that this week's episode deals with racism, parental abandonment, traumatic birth, and stillbirth. So if those topics are ones you'd prefer to skip this time, we understand and hope you join us for the next one.
Progress marches on, and the Nartons are concerned by the number of mothers giving birth in hospital and the lack of follow-up care. Lucille is seconded to St Cuthbert's to supervise the pupil midwives, and she meets Shirley Marlowe, a first-time mum who was nervous to be discharged. She was adopted at 2 years old, so her own mum has no experience of babies. She also meets Connie Blair, who has been admitted on bed rest. Connie is rude and uncooperative, but becomes trapped in the lift with Lucille and is forced to deliver her baby there. Nurse Crane encounters 2 Sletty boys at the local school and makes inquiries after their mother. We meet Mrs. Mohammed, who has been in England a matter of weeks but is housebound as she's inconstant. Nurse Crane enlists Dr. Turner's help and they are able to diagnose a fistula, which occurred following the birth of her baby girl who died following a 4-day labour. Mrs. Mohammed's husband has abandoned her and the children, but after surgery to repair the damage, the family are reunited. Meanwhile, Cyril has completed his exams, but him and Lucille are struggling to find time together, and Sheila and Bai come up with the idea of a charity fashion show to raise more funds for the incubator, for an incubator for the maternity home.
There we go.
What do we think, ladies? What should we start with?
Well, just to say, we've been on a break, and our recording schedule has also been on a break for a week or so, and then we all had a really long week, and so we're just
She's just
do our
basically
best
saying lower
today.
your expectations, everyone.
Alex is gonna edit out all of our pauses and our incoherences or whatever, but we're gonna have to try to just ramp it up to our usual this week a little bit. So this was a tough episode. I'm sorry, but this one was sad. This one also made me angry at times, and I was like, oh, I don't know. Even the happy parts, I was kind of like, huh? Now that's also could be a me problem because my mood has been terrible, and I watched the episode this morning when I was still in a really bad mood. I mean, I'm kind of in a bad mood now, but not that way. But you know what I'm saying? It's just I got
sunflowers down it. I have no idea why. Why did I write sunflowers down? They started the episode about sunflowers. See, that's how good my notes are today.
Yeah,
because in the episode it's May, so there wouldn't be sunflowers.
Maybe that's why I did it. But there was sunflowers, and I was like, oh.
Somebody had a bouquet of sunflowers, what you're saying?
Yeah. I was looking out, and she was like, oh, I'd like those sunflowers or something.
Huh.
Are you talking about Call the Midwife?
Yeah. Right, I'll look back on this and tell you.
Okay. Should we start talking about, the big theme this week was obviously the fact that more and more births are happening in hospital. Sheila's obviously concerned. She wants to restart the fund for the incubator because she's like, if we've got the facilities, more women will be able to stay in the maternity home. And although they've already given birth at the point where the baby needs to go into the incubator, but anyway. But Lucille just happens to be seconded to St Cuthbert's.
Happens to be. Yeah, I know.
Normally it's the London, but this week she's at St Cuthbert's, a very 1960s building.
Love it.
Absolutely. Oh, wait a minute. Well, we'll get there, but girls, when they were in Violet's shop, and then when they were doing all of the sewing, and they had the 2 different Singer sewing machines, we'll talk about it, but there was a lot of good vintage stuff. Wait, there was something else, there was another vintage scene, or was that something else I was watching? Anyway, I'm not going to divert, but just to say...
So what to say, everyone, lower your expectations.
Well, girls, here's the thing. Now I'm just going to tell you. So I don't know what I was actually thinking of just a minute ago when I said that. But yesterday I was on TikTok and I was watching, and they had an ad of a commercial ad from the 1950s for the modern cook's home kitchen, right? And it was this full kitchen thing that you could I guess you'd either put it in a new house or you'd buy it when you were redoing your kitchen in your house, or you could just add bits and pieces, whatever you wanted. But it was every modern convenience, and there was this. It was we were talking about smoking on the last podcast, right? People smoking in different places.
10 enough.
Right.
He was smoking.
Yeah, so this kitchen had a little, instead of an ashtray, it had a stork, a seagull. What's the bird with the big bag on its bottom?
A pelican.
Pelican, yes. So it had one of those, and it was it was perched, right? And then the mouth was open, and then you rested your cigarette on the bottom of the beak. And then if you didn't come back for your cigarette at a certain amount of time, the mouth would slowly close, and then your cigarette would fall inside and it would extinguish so that there'd be no fire hazard, which I was like, Unreal. Then there was like a special cupboard with like one of those doors that like turns around, you know, to like reveal like a secret compartment. And your KitchenAid mixer style thing was on the other side of it. So you could like bring it out, tuck it
Get a
away.
screen grab of this because I just do not understand. My brain is not comprehending.
Okay, you know in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
Okay, the scene. Okay, this I'm probably gonna make it way too weird, but you know the scene where Sean Connery and Harrison Ford are in the Nazi castle and they're tied up and they're like not sure what they're gonna do to escape, and then they're trying to figure their way out, and Harrison Ford knocks over something on the edge of the fireplace, and then they spin around and they're in a different room, and then they're like, oh my God, wait, and then they knock it again, and then they spin back around. Do you remember that? It's like a little
Yeah.
turntable
I
thing.
do remember.
So that's what this KitchenAid was on. Does that make sense?
Like
Yeah.
an Indiana Jones turntable thing.
Yeah. It's like or like a
Like
secret
a Lazy
compartment.
Susan.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. And then the cupboard is the front of the cupboard is like where it's neat and tidy. And then if you spin it, it will like come out and then it's there and then you can use it. So it's like so you don't have to like have counter space for it. You know what I'm saying?
Now, if Dr. Turner
No.
was still smoking, I bet he would have one of those pelicans in his
I know. It looks really, really
I want a picture of
efficient.
this pelican, Jen. Send us a screen grab and we'll put it on social media.
I will. I'll try to find this. I'll try to find the TikTok again. I do love those kind of ads. Like
And Bex,
that,
I'm going to say this again for the 4th podcast in a row. Screen grabs. People will be asking for them.
Yeah.
Oh,
Are you actually going to do
anyway.
it?
Should we talk?
Hang on.
What?
Are you actually going to do it?
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Right.
She's gonna
in
do
my
it
own time.
the way she's done the other thing she said she was gonna do that she
My
did.
husband's got a mug that says, I'll do it in my own time. You don't have to ask me every 6 months.
Should we talk about Constance, Connie, Mrs.
Oh,
Blair? I
she
did
was
not like this.
awful.
And I had a question, was it racism? But the fact that Jen put it as a trigger warning, it clearly was.
Oh yeah, she was
Well-
very obviously racist. She was
Well, I
like,
thought she was obviously racist, but then I thought at the end, we'll talk about it in a minute. They were like, oh, hang on, she wasn't a massive racist after all. She was just a big bitch. She was just triggered from being in the hospital.
Whoa,
Which
that's
she
what they
said
tried
she
to
just didn't
intimate,
like
wasn't
being
it?
told what to do at the end. But I was like, well, you were fine with the other nurse telling you what to do. You just didn't like Lucille telling you what to do.
Because you're a big bloody racist, yeah.
Yeah, I will say like she was very racist and she was very rude and she was very mean, but I also at the end when they kind of had their opportunity to like talk to each other in the elevator and then she kind of apologized, I did think I did want to give her at least the benefit of the doubt for having done that.
I know, but should Lucille really have to explain why she's qualified to be there? Like,
Oh, no, it doesn't excuse it. It doesn't make it okay, but
Yeah.
but at the same time, like people are still people, right? And like, you know,
Yeah, she's a racist person.
Well,
Let's
do you know
take for context.
she is. No, I'm not excusing the racism at all. I'm not saying it was appropriate, but at the same time, like her rudeness did have a purpose. It wasn't appropriate or good, but she wasn't just doing it for the sake of doing it. She said like, listen, like I have like a
I'm
history of
lashing out.
this.
She
Like,
said, I'm lashing out.
yeah, she's like, look, it's deeply upsetting being in the hospital. She's like, I have a hard time with it. I really don't handle it well. Like,
Well, so
I
let's set the
apologize.
scene.
Yeah.
Lucille comes on her first day and she's got this trainee midwife with her and she's like, hi, I'm Lucille or whatever, or Nurse Anderson. And she's like, oh, I'm this Mrs. Blair. And she was like, Constance Blair. She was like, Constance, only my mum calls me Constance and my friends call me Connie. So then Lucille's about to say it and then she was like, you can call me Mrs. Blair. And I was just like,
yeah. And that
what
is
the
red
cow?
flag number one.
And
Yeah,
she
that
looked
reminds
at
me of one of my friends was like telling me one time about how she sent me a letter being like, oh, I'm getting married, and it's close friends, not me. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
yeah. I was like, oh, thanks.
You're like, all right, well, I guess I'm not a close friend then.
Well, oh, what a kick in the teeth. You know who that was. Anyway, if
You
you're
have to
listening,
tell me.
still bitter. Do you actually not remember?
Oh, I don't even know who this is.
Thanks.
Only
Yeah,
close
because you two were
friends.
so close.
I know.
You guys were like best friends. Not best,
You were
but
like
I know what you
were
mean.
like Miss
Really
Higgins
close.
and
Nurse
Phyllis.
Crane. Yeah,
You
I
guys were
know.
really close, yeah.
I know.
I know.
I hope that doesn't
But-
happen to them.
Connie Blair. I'm going to call her Connie just to piss her off. The magazine.
Well, you can, Bex, because you're not. Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
she
she's a
wouldn't
picture
correct
of
you.
her. It's going to have no impact. The magazine, like she was just rude. The magazine's on the floor.
I know.
When she just barked at, I did love it when she told Lucille to clean them up and she was like, I am not a cleaner. I was like,
She did. And they looked at each other and think she was a bit like, oh, she's matched my bitch energy. But then Lucille did take them and she was like, they're mine. When oh, actually, Lucille did have the upper hand, and now she looks like she's stealing her magazines.
I'll tell you what, that's service work for you right there. Like, I can't even tell you how many interactions with clients I've had that go like that, where, and I'm just like, I want to be out of here so badly. It's tough.
She had an absolute attitude problem, didn't she? She was horrible.
She did, but
afterwards, I was like, she deserved to get stuck in that lift
without a nurse, without a midwife.
Yeah.
That's what she deserved.
That hospital just looks so bleak. Like you have no idea if it's day or night in there.
Yeah, it was grim.
To be fair though, like hospitals are grim.
Yeah.
Oh, they always are. You can't help it. They can't help it. There's no way to make it like nice.
No, they have to be functional. They have to be like, oh.
Even the best hospitals I've ever been in where you're like, oh, this is nice. You're still just like, get me out of here. You know what I mean? Like,
it's the worst person to go to a hospital with. Sorry to my brother, but he literally, I don't know what it is. My mum reckons it's from his traumatic childbirth. I'm like a bit like, I don't think he'll remember that, Mum.
From his traumatic childbirth?
I know.
No, I'm sorry, no.
I know, it's ridiculous. But he is the most, I've never seen anyone be as uncomfortable as him in a hospital. And I've had horrendous times. And he is just the world's worst at being in a hospital. And obviously we know about my dad's thing recently. And he can feel it emanating from him the second he goes near to one. He's just
I know, but I used to be like that. So I visited my dad in hospital years ago, and like we went in and I was just so uncomfortable. We had to leave early. Like they were going to come and give him an injection. I was like, we cannot be here when that happens. But then when my nephew spent some time in hospital, I was like, you got to get your shit together. And I just got over it.
Yeah.
So no disrespect.
I should have done that. It was me doing it the whole time.
I wonder if your mom kind of gave your brother some of that anxiety. Like she kind of like maybe like put it on him a little bit.
Oh, I think very much. Like he was scared of dogs for years, and it's like, why are you scared of dogs? Oh, hang on, it's because mum is. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not.
Yeah, like
rational reason to be.
Yeah, like I could see her like traumatizing him with his birth story, and then he's like,
My sister-in-law is terrified of frogs because her mum is terrified of frogs, and now my niece and nephew are like, frogs. And that's just completely irrational. She's just totally passed that down.
I try not to with my blood. Like, and my husband actually had a word with me yesterday over something.
Wait a minute, you've got to say that differently. Like, I try not to with my blood. Like, you gotta say that different.
I'm terrified of blood.
Yeah, you're
very. I'm like, I faint at the sight of it. Like, it's just horrendous.
Even like a mild paper cut, even like.
I was really trying not to be
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So yesterday or the other night, this is how bad my toenails are at the moment. She cut a foot on my toenail the other day when I was putting her in bed. And she just started crying. She was so tired. We've had quite a traumatic week. I won't go into it, but we've had a traumatic time this week. So she's been quite emotional. Anyway, she just started bursting into tears about this blood. And I was like really trying to hold it together because obviously I didn't want her to be upset or whatever. But, because of the blood. Well,
did she have a scratch or was it like really kind of a deep cut?
It was like a bit of a scratch, but she was just crying because of the blood. But the only reason she was crying is not because of the actual blood. I think it's just because she was so
just
tired.
overwhelmed.
Really trying to not overreact and make it this big thing. And it was just so my husband went and dealt with it. But like I was like, oh John, can you just get a plaster? Like it was just really like, and he was like, you need to make sure that you're not. And I was like, I really wasn't. I wasn't like in front of her or anything.
Yeah. It's tough. We all bring our own baggage to life. You know what I mean?
Some weird than
what I didn't get with St Cuthbert's, why did they put the labour ward on a different floor? Like it made no sense. Just keep it on the same floor.
Yeah, that felt stupid to me too.
Well,
you know what?
Guys, you say that, but at the hospital I gave birth in, the labour ward was on this 2 floors below the maternity ward.
That was a man. A man designed that. A man made that. That's a man. That's a man's fault.
Yeah.
I don't think I have to say more than that. I've already laid the blame. So yeah.
Have I already said that she deserved to get stuck in the lift?
Yeah, you did.
You can say it again.
I wholeheartedly
say it.
And even when she came round afterwards and they had that moment together, and she was like, "I just didn't want to be told what to do." I was like, "Oh, I still don't like you."
Yeah, but exactly. You could have said it like she was just so petulant and immature and horrible. Like, don't get me wrong. I wasn't at my best pregnant. Like, I was really hormonal and stuff. But still,
I mean, the thing is, if she had been rude across the board and it didn't matter who she was being rude to, then I think it would have been easier. But the fact that she singled Lucille out clearly because she was like a woman of color, like that's where I think all of us, that's what we're all really speaking to. Because honestly, like if she had just been like a big pain in the ass generally, you know, then it's like, okay, we get it. But she was
she's
just
exclusively being awful to Lucille. And I don't like it when people are awful to Lucille.
No
one does. No one should be awful to anyone. No.
And can I just talk about Lucille and Cyril? Like, I know we've got a whole storyline of them. But like, Cyril and her, they were just so supportive of each other. And I was just,
I know. Well, I kind of think that they made it that way because they wanted the two of them to be able to have kind of that bonding conversation.
Yeah.
Which gave a deeper context to their date at the Jamaican restaurant, which I thought was really sweet.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, we should talk about that later on when we in more detail. But anyway,
on the note with the giving birth in the lift, then Lucille was in the paper, and then being like, oh look, you know, she's been in the paper with that. Poor Cyril, the night of the labour in the lift, had to deal with Sister Monica Joan all night. He was there with Mojo.
That was his second time. Getting pulled in to have basically a date with Mojo when he really wanted to see Lucille.
I mean, well, bless his heart. Like, what a good man.
I know.
Well,
my husband would not have done that.
Lucille made it into the East London Gazette, and I was going to tell the story about when I made it into the local paper. So when my nephew was 2, I took him swimming, and the pool is not like a pool you have to get into it. It just gradually slopes into the pool. So he literally took a step forward, slipped and fell backwards, whacked his head. He started crying, and I was like, oh God, I'm around all these mums, I'm gonna have to like comfort him. So I pick him up, hold the back of his head, and there's just blood. So it was honestly, now it's, I mean, he is still scarred from it because he's got a patch where the hair doesn't grow. But so we had to go to the first aid room. Then because he'd slipped over in the pool, it was like the first hottest day of the year, and they closed the pool because this had happened, because they had to check why he'd slipped over. We then ended up in the first aid room. I then had to bring my sister-in-law. She had to come. She was like 6 or 7 months pregnant. He went off to hospital. I was in floods of tears. It was just not a good situation. We got over it, and then literally a couple of weeks later, my brother sent me an online newspaper article, and the headline of our local newspaper was "Ambulance Called for Pool Toddler." And this was basically an article about how the pool had to be closed and this toddler had to be taken away in an ambulance. And I was just like, oh my God, the shame.
I mean, well, the thing is, though, it just also shows what a lovely, lovely place you live.
I know, like... It must be like such sunshine and rainbows there if it's like a small child had a tiny tumble and then the whole like, oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, it was I mean, it was probably a slow news day that they were written, but how did the newspapers even get hold of that?
I don't know, actually. Maybe they speak to the ambulance. I don't know.
But I mean, as I left the swimming pool in floods of tears because what had happened, there were just all these people with their kids outside because they'd obviously planned to bring their kids swimming, and the pool was closed.
If it
was going to reopen. But it just reminded me of that. But should we talk about Shirley Marlowe briefly? She was kind of a small storyline, but I did like, had been adopted, so she was really nervous to be discharged because she wasn't sure about breastfeeding. Then she kind of said that she'd been adopted from when she was 2 years old, so her mum wasn't used to having babies. And then bless her, Trixie then does kind of like a follow-up appointment.
I identified with Mrs. Marlowe so much. Like, it's so hard. Like, I just remember thinking and saying to me mum, like, why didn't you tell me it was this hard? Like, it was just horrendous. You're there trying to breastfeed. And I actually relatively had like an easy breastfeeding journey. It was very easy, really, looking back. But like, I remember ringing the breastfeeding hotline at 2 a.m. because she'd been sick, like all this bloody sick. And they were like, yeah, it's from your nipples. Didn't even realise, like, you know, you're just so tired. You don't know what you're doing. It was just, bless it. It's so hard.
Her mum had no experience of it because she's never dealt with a baby.
No. But then saying that, I don't think it's even that easy when you have, because my mum forgotten everything from 30 years before. Like, it's just, I just felt so bad for. They really portrayed that well, I thought, like how scared she was.
I found it. That's the stork.
She found the pelican.
It's a pelican. It's a pelican?
No, it's white. That looks like a stork. Well, we'll put it on the. Send it to me.
Yeah.
I'll put it onto the.
Yeah. It is hard. I will say though, like it was a funny scene to me because when she came home, like because the the Mrs. Marlowe had said like, oh, I'm adopted, my mom's coming, but like she never had a baby because I was adopted when I was 2, so she doesn't really know what she's doing, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, and I get it, and I don't really know kind of exactly what point. I mean, I get what point they were trying to make, but I'm like, okay, you kind of made like a lot out of not much here to me. But then when she got home, it was like, they talked about the breastfeeding and everything like that. And then the mom kind of like she's like, well, she was adopted. And so like, I don't know. And everything, I'm not saying this very well, but I guess I just was like, it's not rocket science. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm being.
I think
A baby is a baby. I don't know. I
Yeah.
didn't understand what the big hubbub was about. It was like,
No,
you
see,
better
I
have
did.
other babies.
I did because I feel like it should be natural and you should know what you're doing, and then you don't.
Oh,
And it's
I
dead
know,
art.
but
I just feel like they both needed. I mean, the whole point of that storyline was the fact that
It's
there's no
parent.
follow-up there,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that they both just needed that kind of positive reassurance.
Yeah,
which is
Because
great. Absolutely.
the relief on the grandmother's face when Trixie was like, "You're doing it all fine.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
can just take the baby out for a walk in the pram."
Because my midwife was about 1,000 years old, and she was really rude to my husband constantly because she just basically thought men weren't anything, and she was right. But she
is right, more like.
no, but she was like actually really quite rude to my husband, like, get me a cup of tea, and he was a bit like, all right, bloody hell, like she wasn't nice, but her just coming and helping me and giving me reassurance, it did help me because I was struggling, like it was so hard.
I think the reassurance is really, really important, and I think that the sharing of knowledge is really important, and I think the support is really important, and all of that. And I'm 100% for that. I guess what here's the point I'm trying to make. Okay, let me do this more intelligently. I've never even gone through it. I've never even been a mom, but I find it frustrating that there's even an idea that you should just instinctually or naturally, just by dint of being pregnant and giving birth, just know what to do with a newborn and then a toddler and then a child and then a child. Like, to me, that is just automatic fallacy, and I just find it incredibly frustrating, and I find it really reductive, and I find it really harmful, and I find it and like there's almost I don't know of anything else in life where people are like, oh, like just because you're like a teenager now you should just know how to be a teenager, you know what I mean? Or like just because you've like seen cars driven around and you've been in cars before you should just know how to drive. Like it's just and I don't feel like people do that to men or fathers, which I just also, it's like, again, it just shows. And it's just,
I think a lot of it as well was centered around breastfeeding, because breastfeeding, I can tell you now, well, this is 7 years ago, but I'm pretty sure it'll be the same kind of thing. It is very forced on you. It is very, this is the natural thing, this is the right thing to do, this is what you need to be doing, and this is in 1965. So I feel like there is this thing like you do just keep trying, it'll be fine. Like, they had Sister Evangelina was pressuring and mum about it. Do you remember that storyline? And none of the lectures like, if you can't do it, don't worry. It's all
just
like,
don't worry about
you'll
it.
be able to do it. Just carry on, keep trying. And
I know, but
she was having trouble with the breastfeeding.
But I think the breastfeeding was almost like a minor part of this. It wasn't a episode to kind of highlight that, and for that to be I think it was more the fact that
but she was struggling with the breastfeeding, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was, but I think that wasn't the takeaway from it. The takeaway from it was the fact that they need the follow-up for whatever reason, because there was another mum who'd been discharged from hospital and she'd had stitches, and the stitch had become infected, and she just thought that's as painful as it was going to be. So I don't think
no, I'm not saying they're trying to say breastfeeding is bad, but I just think it's like another thing. Like even now,
it's just an example. It's just an example.
I think it was just
how women are supposed to know. Is my point, Bex? Like it's like naturally you're supposed to know how to do it, but you don't. There's no like thing being like it's okay if you can't kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Lucille then came up with the idea that when women are discharged from hospital, they should produce a full discharge letter with history, but they should produce that in triplicate, which I think is the best. Like, how often do you get to use the expression, let's do that in triplicate?
and not anymore, that's for sure. No. Yeah.
So not only does it go to, obviously, the hospital records, copy to the GP, but also a copy to the district midwife so that they can obviously perform that follow-up care.
I'm not gonna lie, I did think, why have they not thought of that before?
I know.
Yeah.
Again, not rocket science.
It was a man. A man was the one who didn't think about it.
Well, I'm glad Lucille thought of it. I love Lucille.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Mrs. Marlowe was all fine in the end and everything was great.
Yeah. Those two moms were kind of Like they were kind of just
They were there to just prove a point. Bex is
yeah,
right
yeah.
about
They were just
sharing
kind of like very like just like little
community care.
bite-sized storylines. Yeah.
Now, this next storyline proper angered me.
Which one?
So, Nurse Crane's gone into the school to do the vaccinations. And she
Oh,
comes across two new
pupils.
pupils that have just joined the school. She inquires after what vaccinations they've had. They're not really sure.
And also, who'd ask a kid that age what vaccinations have you had? And she
Yeah, I
knows it's
know.
their second language. Like, oh, right, I can't speak much English, but I do know this is my BCG. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, my
Yeah.
mom told me this was for TB last year when I had it done in, my native home country or whatever. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, okay, well.
So the boys have come over from East Pakistan, so they're Sylheti boys.
Yeah.
The teacher says that the father brought them to school. They've got impeccable manners. They've oh my god, they were such cute boys. Like they
They
were
were.
so just well turned out. But
Girls, do you think the teacher was in another episode of Call the Midwife?
do you think it's the dreadful teacher that?
I don't know. Her face looked familiar, but then
I
I was like,
recognised her face as well.
I thought she was in this show before, and I don't know if I just wanted to bring that up. Anyway, sorry, Bex, I really interrupted you. I'm sorry about that. What were
That's
you
all right.
saying?
I don't even know. Oh,
They
so
were
there's
so
been
you were
no
saying that how sweet they were.
yeah. So there's been no sign of the mum. Like the father brought them on their first day to school. She's not dropping them off in the mornings. They just get finding their own way to school.
Mm-hmm.
I really
So
liked the teacher bit where she was like, well, the dad brought him. She was like, yes, but, and then like Nurse Crane's just speaking to the teacher, and the teacher's like, well, yeah, normally the father comes over, and then the mom comes. She's like, no, I mean, who's brought him to school? Like, I just quite like I like the way they did that as like a storytelling of how they all got there, like we were all thick. Just,
Yeah.
but it was like quite funny.
Well, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, the dad came the first day, but then we've never seen another parent with them after that." And it's like, "Okay, and did you think that was weird?" It's like, "Well, clearly not." It's like, oh, "Okay, well, I'm glad like no one really cared about these kids, but all right, that's fine." So then Phyllis goes to their house and kind of barges in, which, and then she meets the mama who, oh, this poor woman.
well, she goes in and there's
Well, hang
a
on,
foul.
before that scene, she gets the address. And how does she get the address?
Oh, from Miss Higgins.
And she goes, are these records up to date to Miss Higgins? And Miss Higgins' expression absolutely
But
killed
she
me.
checks herself because she does apologize. Like
And
she
she's
doesn't
like, "I know."
she realizes.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. So sorry, yeah. Then she goes round, she knocks on the door, and can I just say what amazing smell acting from Nurse Crane?
And Dr. Turner later on as well.
Oh, but it was
He
the way
looks
that
like
she
he's
passed
about to
it.
keel over.
The way that she passed it off as in, oh, I must be getting a cold. Like,
Yeah.
so
Well,
it's not
also, I know, but also I'm sorry, like God bless her too, because like it's not like you only smell it the first minute you're in there. It's like you keep smelling it after that. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna get over it. But anyways, but this poor woman was in terrible shape, like absolutely terrible shape, and you could tell she was really embarrassed and
Oh.
ashamed of having
And the
someone in her
washing was
home.
everywhere. Like there was so much washing everywhere because obviously all she was doing was washing her clothes over and over again.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, Nurse Crane just was like, get your football and play outside, boys. And I thought, wow, like
Oh, you could
nowadays,
never
there's
say
no,
stuff like that. No.
no, you couldn't
Mm-mm.
ever do it, could you?
No, no way. No way. Mm-mm.
And she sits down and notices sores on the mum's legs.
oh,
And that
that
her
poor woman.
her behind is also wet, which was very sad and embarrassing.
Just awful.
And the mother says that she's dirty, and Nurse Crane has to say to her, "You're not dirty, you're unwell." Now, the husband, I've
Oh.
just written down scum.
I mean, you're not wrong. Oh, she was so lovely. She looked like hell, didn't she? She looked
Oh,
ill,
she looked
looked
terrible.
in
She looked
pain.
terrible.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, she wet herself in front of Nurse Crane, for God's sake. It's not like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's a serious
Well,
issue there. And
here's
he's
the
just
thing.
discarded her like bad rubbish after they've locked
Yeah.
the door to 2 months before.
Well, okay, like we have to say though what happened though, because the thing is that you like when you first meet her, you're like, what is happening with this woman? Like this, because Phyllis says like, oh, it could be a UTI, like something's going on because she has really, really, really terrible incontinence, and she does seem physically in pain, and she's like warm to the touch, like norm beyond like normal warm body temperature, and so there's
The
a lot of
scores Yeah, and the sores on the leg. She must be in so much pain.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's really she looks really in bad shape. But basically, like, I'm just gonna jump ahead. So basically, Phyllis and Dr. Turner consult, and then Dr. Turner comes and does a visit, and then they get the husband involved. We'll talk about him in just a second. But basically, they do an exam and they do some tests and everything like that, and then they figure out that basically this woman, she says she was in labor for 4 days in Pakistan. She gave birth to her daughter. The child's very, very tragically and sadly did not survive, but she had a terrible birth, and that ever since then she's been sick and in pain. And what they find is that she's got a lot of lesions on her vagina, and she has a fissure, which has then created, which is a tear between up near her cervix, between her, now I'm just in a health class, near her vaginal wall and her bladder. So basically, whenever she has to pee, it just falls out. Like there's nothing holding it. It just falls out because it's just open, and it's causing like really terrible infections and just a horrible environment for her body and everything like that. So she has to have surgery to repair it, and she needs antibiotics, and she needs treatment and cream and da 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 da. So that's what's going on with her. But now that we know that part of it, let's talk about like the husband and her and their relationship and everything.
Well, she's really, and I was just willing her to let like when she's like she needs to see the doctor, like please let me examine you, and when Dr. Turner tries to examine her, I was just willing her to let them. But
Yeah.
Also, just think about how
feels so
worthless.
much.
Well, she's been made to feel like disgusting and
So bad.
worthless, and
Yeah.
her husband won't even be near her. And
Mhm.
So Nurse Crane goes to the boys' school. She speaks to the boys and says, "Do you know where your dad works?" The younger boy knows where he lives, so they take Nurse Crane to his boarding house. Now, this is
Girls, I thought that old man was the dad at first. I really did. Because they're like, oh, you're like, we need to see our papa. And the way they said it, I was like, and then they said, Daddy. And then the guy just was like, he turned around and walked away. And I thought he was walking away because he was like, I can't deal with this right now. But then, and then a really young man came to the door and was like, yes. I was like, it's not funny. It's really not. I don't know. I'm in a weird mood. But I just really.
But today I am all about the red flags. So red flag number one, he wasn't pleased that his children were at the door.
I know, he's like, why are you here?
What are you doing here?
why are you bothering me?
Exactly.
Why are you? You're not part of my life anymore.
He wasn't pleased to see the children. He's left because he was just so.
He said he was sad. He said he was ashamed, and he said he was afraid. Those are the words he used.
He was afraid.
Later, when he knew, at the point where he left. Well, I won't say left. Abandoned his wife and abandoned his children there.
Yeah,
it was like the stench was just too much. Like, but I was like, oh, but it's fine. Like you can't stand it, but it's fine for the kids to stay there. But also,
well, the fact that he walked in and he was like, oh my God, this is disgusting. I'm like, can you please not, sir, who didn't have your whole body shredded like a block of cheese after she gave birth for 4 days?
And he's just, at the point where he left, he was just angry at her, like said that she's basically disgusting.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
What I don't get is, why is it not plainly obvious to him that something is wrong? Like, she's not doing this.
She's not done that since you met her.
No, like this is clearly something that's happened since she left.
Also, girls, yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely spot on. But here's the other thing. She had all that happen to her in Pakistan, and then she had to get all the way to Poplar. Yeah. And we all know how travel was during this time, and I can only hazard a guess as to how they Can you imagine having to travel all that way, all that type of travel? Like, God knows what.
It was horrible coming home after giving birth with a baby.
Oh.
Bearing in mind she's been through bereavement as well. Like, it was horrible coming home from the hospital 25 minutes away. Like with my birth. So my point being, like, imagine having to travel up. No, thank you. No, I don't.
Absolutely, my heart was breaking for this woman. And then to have your husband like insult you as well and like demean you. I just because so basically the husband comes into the home because Nurse Crane and Dr. Turner were like, well, we really can't talk to her that great because we want to talk to her about adult things, and her English language skills are good, but they're not like amazing. So we need to have a better flow of conversation here and like explain like what we need to do, blah blah blah. So they get the husband to come in in and not just like reconnect with the family, but also to like be the translator. And so they're like, please, can you just say what we're saying to her?
Yeah, because they
And
get into a bit of a back and forth, don't they?
Yeah,
When
because
he's
he's a bit like, oh, you're disgusting.
he's like, you
he's
smell
just
so bad. Yeah, he's like, you're disgusting. You smell bad. Why are you like this? Why are you so like gross and weird? And I don't like you anymore. Like, and they're just like, and they can, and Phyllis and Dr. Turner can tell that he's not saying what they're saying. And they're like, okay, can you literally just please like stop? Just tell her what we're telling you. And then they're like, you had such a hard time. We're so sorry you suffered so much. Like, we know how pain, like they were really compassionate. And then he had to say
it was
those
good
words
him
to
having to
her.
say it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really feel like it shamed him because those should have been things that he was saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
And
mean,
then she was like, you just left me all alone, you dirtbag.
yeah, scumbag.
Yeah, scumbag. Yeah, absolutely. And he was like, well, and she's like, no, I'm your wife, for God's sakes. Can you please just be a human being? And then he was like, yeah, okay, I do feel bad, actually.
I mean, what I didn't like was the way that he was like, oh, yeah, actually, I'm willing to give it a go again. Kind of like, I'm willing to try.
I would have been like, yeah, exactly. Oh
Are
my
you, mate?
God.
Are you? Because I'm not.
Well, and then, I was already mad at girls. Sorry, I'm just gonna jump ahead. Wait, can we jump ahead just to when she's in the hospital? So, okay, so then she's in the hospital and, she's like had her surgery and everything like that. You can tell she's feeling a lot better.
He
And
looked loads better.
looked loads better. And so I don't know if it's Phyllis or whoever, but they're basically like, oh, you have some visitors or whatever. So she sits up and the boys run in and they like give her flowers and like a kiss, and it was really, really sweet and everything. And then the camera cuts to the doorway and he's standing there and he walks in and she's like, and she has this like kind of tender look on her face for him. And then he like is like does that thing where he kind of like shrugs like a very little bit and then he kind of is like, like smile kind of thing. And I was just like, I was so like, I was even more mad, honestly, in that moment with him than I was previously because I was like, you know what I like? You're just really gonna like, to this whole thing that you just put your wife through for months and like I just like
reminds me of that Urkel. Did I do that? Did I do that?
Oh, I just was
and
like,
to go back,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
And he says, "Fear made me do it. I didn't know." And it's like, how did you not know there was a actual medical problem? Like, it was so obvious that there was a medical problem here.
Scared. What the hell did he think she was? She couldn't control going to the toilet. Like,
you couldn't have asked her one time, like, "Are you okay? I really think you might need to see someone." Like, they'd been in England for months, like already. You know what I mean? Like, also, like like their oldest child was like 8 or 9 years old. Like, she'd never walked around just like having urine poured out of her body before that. You know what I mean? Like, did you not think that something was amiss?
Also, he had taken the time to register at the doctors.
Yes.
They had their records. So the fact that he couldn't make her an appointment and persuade her to go to the doctors.
Infuriating.
I couldn't about like.
Let's refer to you really in oat specs.
Scumbag.
Yeah. And old Jenny comes on saying about being reunited. And I'm like, ugh.
Like,
no one wants to see this reunion. No one
can it. Honestly, you know what? Stay in that weird boarding house with that old man that I thought was the dad and just send child support. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. In fact, where's the old man? Maybe the old man will be nicer to her than him. Jeez.
And he's not. And again, with the kids, like, oh, well, now it's nice. Oh, the fact that he wasn't pleased to see his own children.
I know.
The way he treated his, like, he's just, ugh.
You know what I would have made him do? Get on his hands and knees and scrub that whole freaking apartment.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you're going to clean up every single bit of this place. And when it is sparkling and it smells like a bouquet of flowers, that is when I will come home and even begin to think about talking to you again, sir.
Ugh. I just don't think she should even look in his direction. She's horrible. What an absolute piece
sucks.
of scum he is. Bex is right.
Well, what happens if something else goes wrong? Is he just going to run away again like a big coward?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's just, men are problem, men are headache, men too headache.
What was that thing you said? Why are men?
Why are men and men are headache? Yeah. that is it. So true though, isn't it?
Apologies to any of our male listeners this episode. It's been a tough one for you.
Well, it won't be because we're going to talk about Cyril and how lovely he is.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
He redeems all. I know. I'm just getting ready to like just pass out in my chair right now. I'm gonna faint on the floor.
Now,
Crazy
I've
Gwen.
spoken in the past about how I've not warmed to Sister Hilda,
Uh-huh.
but I have to say she is endearing herself to me, because there's a point when they're all around the table and they're talking about the fact that Cyril's got this surprise for Lucille and he's going to take her out and she doesn't know what they're going to be doing. And Sister Hilda says, "It's so difficult to know what to wear." And then she like catches herself and she's like, "Well, obviously not for me."
Yeah, I think she reminds me of you quite a lot. She so wants to know what's going on. Like she's always
But
like wanting to know like the questions. She's like, "What? Tell me what?"
but also I think she's found it the hardest to kind of leave behind her old life and
Yeah.
give up all of the kind of trappings of that the other girls have.
Do you think so? Do you think Sister Hilda is really struggling?
It's just she always talks about clothes, doesn't she? And like
Yeah,
what she
like
used to do and going dancing and
Huh.
yeah, there's just snippets here and there, and she's just like,
Mm.
"Oh, I really miss it," and then she kind of like, yeah, I just get that sense.
Well, I will say this. It must be hard to have your life, live a life like that with a lot of real, genuine differences from the community that you're in, and then be confronted with all of those differences all the time. Like at the mother house, I think it's probably an easier environment because everyone around you is that way, and you're kind of a little bit more, in your own world
Cocooned.
with it. Yeah.
And
Whereas in
Sister
Poplar,
Frances
it's not. Yeah.
is so young, so like it's almost like she's gone straight from, I mean, I don't know, but she's gone straight from school
yeah,
Hmm.
she was
into the
17 when she
religious
signed
life.
up. Yeah.
Whereas Sister Hilda, you do get, I mean, she is older. I mean, we don't really know at what point she kind of entered that life, but it's clear that she kind of had a previous life.
Yeah, well, she spoke about the fact that she was in the, oh, what did they call it again? In the RAF, but the girls one.
Oh, the WAFs.
Yes.
Mm.
So they've
Hmm.
spoken, they've given like stuff about that before. Like that's quite an independent life where you're not having to follow other rules. Well, you do have to follow rules, but not like religious rules or anything. And
Hmm.
she's lived a life before, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, Jennifer Worth didn't really talk about it a lot in her book, but she talked about it a little bit. Like, and we saw Sheila go through it, that kind of like, I mean, I don't want to overstate it, but I mean, like, it's not always a crisis of faith, but you probably have to, just like anything, keep recommitting and recommitting and recommitting to it over and over and over again. It's not one of those things where you take your vows as a nun and then just like you never have to think about it ever again. I mean, you probably have to keep on saying to yourself, like, this is what I really want to do. This is like this is what I'm going to be signing up for over and over and again every single day. So I mean, yeah, it would be hard for me like to be in, just opting out of all the stuff of life sometimes that you really want to do.
Mm.
Yeah, I get it.
So Cyril and Lucille, I mean, he had what were his grand plans? What was his surprise? Did he say?
Oh, the Jamaican restaurant. They went there the next date they had.
Oh,
Oh
was
That
yeah,
was
that
a
the
the
surprise?
that was a
Caribbean one.
surprise, yeah.
Well,
Oh,
no, it was
Caribbean
a local
restaurant, yeah.
cafe.
Caribbean cafe.
Caribbean
Yeah.
cafe, yeah.
But it was very heartwarming to see them have a taste of home.
I loved
Mm.
it and the music, and it was just lovely, and everyone was all dead friendly, and they were just so
Hmm.
happy, and they were having just lovely, candid, great chats that people in relationships should have. Like actually talking about stuff. Like I thought this episode when they weren't seeing each other was going to be them being like, we just never see each other. We need to break up. But actually, it was just like them communicating. Like they were like, oh, we didn't come here for the weather. We came here to work hard. Like it was quite funny. But they were like really having a good, candid, good chat about it. And I thought that was a really nice thing to see. Like because obviously most of
Hmm.
the time the men on this show are just all eeks who are like, what are you doing with a woman? Like just awful. So it was actually nice to see like a male communicating well with his partner. It was just really nice.
Yeah,
Also,
well,
there's two occasions where Cyril's come round. So obviously the first night when he had the surprise plan, then another night when he'd planned to meet Lucille, and he ends up spending the evening with Sister Mojo each
Yeah, while
time.
she's trapped in a lift.
But at no point, and this is green flag, at no point is he like annoyed with Lucille with the fact that like he knows that she can't help it.
I
Like he's
know.
not even slightly annoyed. I mean, I would be annoyed.
You're just not even hiding your irrationality there.
Honestly, I've not been dealing with things in an adult fashion this week. I would just be annoyed.
Well, listen, just all to say, like everybody has their better moments and their like other type of moments, but he was very patient, and I mean, he just continues to be my fave. Like he was so sweet about it, and then when he gave her that little kiss on the cheek, I thought that was so cute, and
Well,
like,
when the first night with this whole Mojo thing, we had those flowers. I
yeah.
genuinely thought, oh, he's just going to go to that club to smoke weed. Like,
That's what I would have done if I were him. Absolutely. He's like, well, the old ball and chain isn't with me tonight, so I'm
well, it
just
was
gonna
to
go.
celebrate the end of his exams as well. It's not like it wasn't a big deal. It was
It was a
like,
really big deal.
yeah.
Yeah. And I felt bad because I was like, there was obviously like no way she could have called to like tell him because it's 1964 or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, oh man,
And
like
she was in a lift, to be fair.
yeah, yeah. But it was like, oh man, like I wish she said something to him, but she was also like, oh, well, I had to work. And I don't know. She did say sorry. She did say sorry. I want to give
When
her
they did go
credit,
out
but.
though and have their lovely chat and everything, they both looked so lovely. Like she was wearing like a mustard yellow thing, he was wearing his suit. And then he told her about the fact that he was called upon to preach. So Mojo was right all along.
I
I know. I
know.
thought she knew, and I know that she just completely made that up, but I feel like she sensed it in him.
Yeah, she saw it
She
behind his
did.
eyes.
She said he had the soul of a preacher. She totally sensed it in him.
The soul of a
Absolutely.
preacher man.
Oh,
Now, do you
yes.
think he? No, no.
What? Well, at
I
the
was like,
end,
do you
he did
think?
do a sermon.
Well, I was like, do you think she planted the seed? But I'm like, no,
I
he
did
just
wonder
had
that.
the soul. Yeah, I'm just like, no, he's got the soul of a preacher.
I think that you could give that, I think you could say that she did and this will be my interpretation, because she's a very strong woman of faith. And they have a very similar faith tradition. And I could see her like fortifying him and like bringing something out in him that maybe he didn't really like connect to as deeply prior to meeting her, because said he was kind of came by him. Like, he was a bit alone-ish in like his like culture and religious like framework, which I think is a big reason why the two of them really connect on a deep level. So I think in that way, I think you could definitely say that she kind of had that influence. I think that's fair.
But did Becky mean Mojo?
Oh, oops, wait, you meant Mojo?
Yes.
Oh.
Because I was like, this is a really gorgeous and well put point, but totally about the wrong person. I'm going to leave that snorting.
But also, yes, sure, yes.
Let's be fair though, it is a norm. Like that's quite confronting for your beliefs. Like you might have spoken to her about stuff. It might have awakened something as well.
Well, and she was like
Not in a
Mojo,
sexual way.
like no, but like Mojo was like spending so much time with him when he was there to fix the car.
Yeah.
And he fixed the car for like a few days. And so she probably like spent like loads of hours just like talking to him, talking to him, talking to him, talking to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could see it.
Yeah.
There's a few important women in Cyril's life, Mojo being one of them.
Mojo, Lucille, you.
Yeah. I'm quickly rising to the top of the list. I know it. I know it's coming.
Speaking of women, should we talk about the fashion show to raise
Oh
money
my
for the
gosh,
incubator?
girls. Yes.
Now, Sheila has decided that they need to start raising money for the incubator again. She goes to see Vi. Well, first of all, she puts it on Trixie. She says she ropes in Nurse Franklin to help.
But also, how is it all on Sister Frances to do all the sewing?
I know. Sheila's
crazy.
decided that I feel guilty saying this because we often have a conversation where Dr. Turner's like, you do too much, Sheila, but then does zero to help her. But then she's decided that they're going to do this and then basically just farms it out to everybody. It's not fair because she is involved.
Yeah. But she
she's
got the venue.
Yeah, and like Trixie does say like, oh, I would like to help and like stuff like that, but they all kind of take turns like putting stuff on each other, and I think that's a bit.
Also, they had like ideas for what they were going to call it, and they all had really good ideas, and then Trixie was like, I know, style on a shoestring. That is the least good one out of all those.
I like darn on a darn with dazzle or something.
Exactly,
like that.
Yeah.
Darn and dazzle. Yeah, I thought darn and dazzle was good. Yeah, I like that one.
Style on a shoestring. Trixie, that's crap.
Well, and she said it, and it was just like, okay, that's it. Crap. I know. It just didn't have any. It just didn't have the pep that I was.
No panache.
Yeah. So I wasn't here for that one, but
I loved the bit where Val had found a dress in a magazine and she shows it to them and she says, what do you think of this? And then Trixie basically says, oh, it would look wonderful on you, as in, I don't like it, but it would look great on you. And
Look
this
great
reminded me
on
this
you.
reminded me of something that me and my mum do, because when we're shopping, she'll say, "Do you like this?" And I say, "For me or for you?"
Oh,
And like,
my mom and I do
yeah,
this.
I'm like, if it's for me, no, I don't like it. If it's for you, yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, and honestly, my mom, whenever she thinks something's ugly, she's like, "For you, right?" And I'm like, "Okay, thank you." That's because I know that's what she's thinking. I just know it's what she's thinking. Like she's looking at something and because my mom also has no poker face, and so she's like, and then like
Hang on, this is a podcast. You just did a funny face.
I just made kind of like a bit of a stink face basically, but she'll be like, "Oh, for you though, right?" And I'm just like, "Oh, mother. Okay, fine, whatever. Like, I guess." But anyways, I think that's just mothers and daughters, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, you can't get away from it.
But I just loved everybody's can-do. I mean, mainly Sister Frances, because she was doing all the sewing. The can-do attitude, the fact that they can. I mean, nowadays this wouldn't happen. The fact that they were like, "Let's get in touch with businesses. Let's get a load of dead stock."
Yeah, yeah.
The fact that they could make it happen.
I will say
that quickly as well.
some of the fashions were giving me a little bit, I don't know. Some of the fashions in the fashion show, I was like, oh, but I mean, they were really trying. I think it was cute. It was cute. I'll tell you what I loved is the dresses that Angela and May came out wearing, and then Sheila had like a quote mom's version of the dress, like an adult woman version of the dress, and Sheila didn't get to walk the runway, and I wanted to see all three of them together in their dresses. They look so cute and pretty.
I liked Dr. Turner being like, "Way!" like for his kids.
I loved Vi's commentary. The fact that when Val came out, she refers to it as an eyebrow-raising hemline.
I know.
Wow.
Well, and then, girls.
Oh my God, Trixie! I feel like Trixie has just like catapulted herself. I know that
she should be ashamed of herself. I'm joking. But I did think they didn't really like focus on the fact that was very shocking. And like, yeah, people were walking out and stuff, but she would have actually like that kind of ritual humiliation probably would have like driven her to the bottle. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I just thought it felt a little tone deaf. I was like, you don't think that this is a bit much? Like, to me, it was like, I was like, ma'am, think about your audience. You know what I mean? Like, you literally live with nuns. Like, why would you make the hemline that short? Like it just didn't. Yeah, I was like,
and the knee-high boots alone, like it didn't need the short hemline. The knee-high boots alone.
Yeah.
With a slightly longer hemline would have been
shocking. There was Fred in the front, giving it, like, just being fully supportive. I love
that. Wait a minute. I know, but and then Violet's like, and not you, Fred Buckle, like in terms of like looking at her or something like that. But then did you see how Fred had on like a tuxedo, like shirt and jacket, and then he had a bow tie undone around his neck, like with the same fabric from the fashion show? He looked amazing. Fred looked
That's what I say. Is this you saying you like is your style icon again?
I know, he really is, honestly, girls. I mean, like, Fred looked so handsome. I just was like, hot dang. Like, it was just a very, like, cool, like, James Bond off-duty kind of a look. And it almost felt, like, very modern in a way. I absolutely loved it. I mean, I wish we could see, like, Fred's fit even more, but, like, he just got literally, like, a 1-second shot. But Fred looked amazing. I was, like, so here for it. It was great.
Oh, but I have to go back to the storyline. I just love the fact that Nurse Crane went to the thought to kind of go through, because obviously they were collecting kind of clothes, and Violet had donated some fabric, and the fact that she thought to give Mrs. Mohammed a sari so that when she was discharged from hospital,
but again, new and fresh,
and also the clothes for the boys.
I know.
One of my favorite lines in the show though was when Violet was like, she comes to their thing and she's like, "Oh, we need to get the kettle on," and Sister Frances, who'd just been working away, was like, "Oh yes, please," like desperate.
Yeah.
It reminded me of me constantly. That's all I wanted.
I was gonna say it reminded me of you and me.
Yeah. Oh yes, please.
It was very good.
I did love all the scenes of when all the kind of nurses and nuns came together and were kind of sat around. Together. Like they're
always so good. I love it when they try and pack them in.
Did they say anything about how much it raised, or do you think that'll be coming in the next episode or something?
Probably the next episode.
Okay.
I've been very Sister Monica Joan this week because the Olympics have been on, and I've just been just obsessed with it all, like just watching it constantly, telling people facts about stuff they didn't even know, and I didn't even know until about 5 minutes before.
There's so many events. I feel like it's more events than Winter Olympics somehow. I feel like it's even more.
Well, they always add events, don't they, for each host country when they do it.
Oh, yeah?
So this year is breakdancing. That's the new one.
Oh my God, the
Wait,
breakdancing.
they don't just permanently add a new event.
Yeah.
So it just gets bigger and bigger and
No,
bigger.
they do get rid of some, but the trend is to add more than get rid, if you see what I mean. They don't have to always get rid of one to bring more in, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I remember when beach volleyball got added and it was a very big story. At least for us, it was a big story over here. I remember that.
Yeah, we're not pervs. We were fine with it.
What's your event, Alex?
What's my favourite event?
Yeah, to
Track
watch.
and field. Track and field.
Track and field.
But I like the cycling. We've been watching a lot of artistic swimming, which was synchronized.
Oh,
diving.
yeah.
Oh, we've just been loving absolutely all the shooting. Who knew that was banging to watch?
Did you guys see the guy from Turkey? Did you guys see the guy from Turkey?
Amazing.
Everyone said was like a hitman or a murderer because he literally just walked up, put his
My
hand in his
favourite was
pocket.
the UK one who got Olympic record and world record.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, please.
I have to say I was very into the swimming. There was a lot of good swimming that was going on.
I think I might actually try and go for a gold medal in 4 years with the shooting. I'm going to try it.
Yeah. Actually, you could be a good swimmer.
Breaking.
I wouldn't be a good swimmer, Jen. I'm talking about the shooting. I'm 43.
You could, once you've had your knee done, you could go in for the breaking.
Breaking.
Breakdancing.
I don't know, they call it the breakdancing. They call it breaking.
I don't think I could, guys. I think you're taking the mick out of me. But shooting, I've got a chance.
Well, I'll tell you what, the swimming, I just think because it's really good for your joints.
Yeah, but I don't think Olympic swimming.
Well, I don't know that you could be an Olympic swimmer. Oh, you're saying you actually want to be an Olympian?
Yeah.
You're like, I want to be in, what's the next host city? Do you know where the next one is?
LA.
Yeah.
LA!
Come on, see you, see.
Okay. Well, I'll just tell you this now. Get ready, because LA will be hot as hell. So you better be prepped for it.
I know.
It's part of my Olympic training. Don't worry.
Yeah, and I said the other day that the reason I can't be an Olympian is because I just couldn't compete. I couldn't do activity in that heat.
Yeah, but you say that, but
I couldn't.
Be aircon and things like that.
A lot of sports are inside sports, even though they're summer.
Yeah.
Oh no,
like gymnastics, you always do inside.
I'm not going to be a gymnast. But
no, I'm not. I couldn't have been a gymnast when I was their
not
age.
with my knee. Nothing to do with the fact that I'm 43. Actually, by next year, I mean, he's going to be good as new, so maybe I could be. Watch this space, guys.
Absolutely will be. Yeah. Absolutely will be.
I tell you why I would like to be an Olympian. I didn't realize how much free kit they get, like how much free stuff they get when they get there.
I know.
Someone I know. So, did you know this about the Olympics? So, they have these people who volunteer, which I think is a really good idea. I don't know if they do it in every country or what, but I know they definitely do it in this country. And I think it just makes more people part of the Olympic journey. So, I really appreciate it. I think it's really good. What they do is they have these events where you kit out the Olympians. So you're given a person, you sign up to do it like a volunteer, and I'm going to look into doing this in 4 years. So it's like in this massive, they do it over here. Let me explain the event. Just listen to me. They think so. They go in. It was in Birmingham this year, and I presume they do it in Birmingham most years. So what they do is they're given an Olympian. So you're assigned an Olympian, right? And you're given their sizes and stuff and all the kit they want, and you get it ready for them and you put it all together for them. And then it's like kind of boxed off and delivered to them. But so someone I know was done for Alex Yee. They were doing Alex Yee's Olympic kit. You know, the one who won the gold.
What's in the kit?
Like their like actual official Olympic kit. So their tracksuits, their running kit they want. Like, so
you like buy it for them?
No,
you just pulling it all
together.
You work in like a warehouse and then you pack the box for them.
But it's like
Amazon.
I'm with you.
But it's like instead of just making it this impersonal, like people just working in the factory kind of doing it, they literally do it so someone's assigned that. So it's like you're part of the Olympic journey as well. I think that's really.
Do you get paid?
No, it's a volunteer event.
Oh, that's why they do it. But surely
you get more than one person because that's really inefficient.
I don't know, but that's the point. The point is it's supposed to include as many people as possible.
Well, actually, though, how many Olympians are there from Britain? Probably not, that many.
Yeah, there is.
You'll find we've run a lot of medals.
Well, how many Olympians do you think you sent? Like thousands?
400? No.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Well, how many have you sent?
Honestly, I bet you we probably have sent loads. Like I mean, I'm not saying we couldn't have packed all
their kits. How many? Tell us.
If I had to guess how many Olympians we sent, my guess would be, I mean, I don't know. In my mind, it's like 1,000, but I don't know if that's right. I mean, because like some countries send like 6. You know what I mean? Like if I was going to guess how many Britain would send, I would say maybe like.
You've had almost 400 this year.
Okay, and how many have you guys sent?
No, I want Jen to guess how many.
328.
Oh, Alex.
Sorry.
Well, see, if I was gonna guess UK Olympians, I would have guessed like 100. I would have guessed really low.
So actually, we've had almost as many as America.
Yeah, well, of course
That's
we would.
pretty impressive. Yeah.
What?
Well, we would. We're going to try to get as many as possible in every event, won't we?
Well, yeah, but we're a much smaller country.
Yeah. So really, we're better, basically, is what we're saying.
Well,
so should we do heroes and zeros? Heroes being UK, zero being UK. Yeah. Or...
My hero is all of the great British athletes. My zero is all the US ones.
The America have just been amazing in the relay as well. Like literally, she was like a whole lap ahead of everyone else. It was amazing. And also, we can't really say that Bex because of Simone Biles. We love her so much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Also, like, did you see Katie Ledecky, the swimmer?
Yes, she's amazing.
She was swimming like literally leagues ahead of everyone else.
It was literally amazing.
It was unreal. Actually, wait a minute here. Hold on a second. Let me see this. We are number 6 in medal count, and
you're 2. We're six.
number two. Number 2 is what I meant to say.
Yeah, we're 6.
You guys are 6, and we're number 2.
Which, let's be honest, is really impressive. But if you actually do it the other way around on how many medals you've won, you're first.
That's true. By a lot, actually.
You've got 121, we've got 63. But again, your government puts a lot of funding into ours don't. Ours is lottery funding. Ours is literally from charity. So...
Yeah, but I've seen some celebrities who've literally like funded like the US rugby team or something.
Did you guys see how Flavor Flav sponsored the US synchronized swimmers?
Yeah,
that's
amazing.
the one.
Water polo.
Yeah. He was like, they all have second jobs, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to sponsor you."
Yeah, but also the main tracks and stuff do have loads of funding and stuff, and colleges all have stuff. Whereas we had someone who was working on Friday, came fifth in the long jump. Like it was.
And look, I mean, it's nice to support the US.
I was about to say it's not a competition, but it is.
I mean, like the basketball team is all literally NBA players. Like, I mean, come on, like what are you gonna do against? Like, come on now, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's wild. So yeah.
Anyway, shall we do heroes instead? We're all heroes. Should we do heroes and
We're all heroes. Yeah.
I'm going to just go straight into it. My zero.
Go for it, Bex. Go for it.
Is going to be Mr. Muhammad.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Just scum.
Yeah.
My hero, I don't know who my hero is going to be. I wanted him as my zero, so I wanted to get in there. My hero is going to be Nurse Crane.
Nice.
The way she advocated for Mrs. Muhammad.
Love it.
Yeah.
My zero is Connie Blair. What a bitch.
Yes.
Like, I'm sorry, just because you have an horrible time or don't like being told what to do, you're a racist. Don't give me that. My hero is going to be the people who run the Caribbean Cafe. Because that is a lovely place, not just for Cyril and Lucille, but for other people who are feeling homesick or whatever, and just looks like a lovely vibey environment, and just looked amazing. So
also looked delicious. I want to eat Caribbean food.
Good on them.
Yeah. Okay, my zero is going to be a mild one, very mild, but I'm going to give it to Trixie for the short hemline. Like, read the room. Really read the room. I know she did help and everything with the whole production, but like she kind of bossily like took over the name of the event. And then like she knows where she works, she knows where she lives, like she knows who her people are. Like, I don't know.
And I mean, also, if anything, I can't forgive the pattern, but carry on.
Yeah, it was a bit much. It was a real bit much. And then my hero is gonna be, I'm gonna give it to Lucille for this one because she was just doing a lot this week and very courageously like just staying in the fray. And you know, you girls know what my week was like, and sometimes it's hard to really, you know, work with people, and she worked with everybody really, really well. And yeah, her kiss on the cheek from Cyril was much deserved.
Well, special shout out to Cyril as well for being so understanding and lovely.
Yes.
And also for not being arsy about having to hang around with Mrs. Jones so much.
Yeah, exactly. He was just the sweetest, cutest boyfriend. So yeah. So it was a good episode.
It was. And I'm sorry that we just have basically been one big tangent all night. But, you know, that's what you get. That's what you get for listening to us, yeah.
I feel like our friends, our listeners will be happy to hear our kooky ramblings this week. Hopefully we made it fun. Yeah. I know we've all been in a right state today. But and girls, we talked about this offline, but we are almost at 100 episodes of this show.
Yeah.
I think we only have a couple more recordings before we're going to be at our 100th episode.
Our centenary.
Yes, absolutely. Our Diamond Jubilee. And even though we don't like to break up the season to talk, with special episodes, we're gonna do it for this one.
Yeah, we need
100.
to. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a plan for what we're gonna do, but I mean,
I need a reminder offline of what my plan. I need
yeah,
to do that plan.
yeah, we'll talk offline. But
Yeah.
just to say, we're excited to celebrate 100, and we,
Yeah, so listen out for that or look out for
yeah,
that.
absolutely. And if you've listened to them all and you made it to 100, just know, like, we're so
God bless you.
excited. Yeah, honestly,
Yeah, we don't win any prizes, but you should.
yeah, we're really it's just so cool. Like, we just noticed that not long ago, and it's like, wow. So
Yeah.
anyways, but that'll be coming up in a week or two, I think. So
Yeah, but next week it will be series 9, episode 4. So if you want to watch along and listen with us, that'd be fantastic. And in the meantime, all the same, follow us on everywhere online, and like and subscribe, follow us on YouTube, all that jazz. Tell your friends, share us everywhere. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. Listen to the adverts so we can get Jen over here.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.